about this conference? What is this about in terms of the kind of investors and corporates that we'll be talking to? And what's the current market scenario that you feel, or in terms of your feedback from some of these investors, what kind of stage do you think we are in terms of the market scenario?
Ambit hosts an annual conference in London, and it's typically held towards the last week of June and first week of July. Our focus is to invite a few mid-market corporates and then give them an opportunity to meet with several global investors who all converge to London at that point of time. The investor group is represented largely by Europeans, both from the UK and the rest of Europe. But this time around, we also have quite a few investors flying in from the United States as well as from Singapore. So I would say a group of 25 to 30 investors interacting and engaging with 10 to 15 corporates. The format is typically one-to-one meeting, which allows investors direct access to and quality time with promoters. And the promoters in turn get to meet high-quality investors on a one-to-one meeting, which allows them adequate time and opportunity to both explain about their company as well as provide clarifications that the investors may seek. This is the 5th year that we are hosting this conference in London, and as I said, it is now an annual event for Ambit. How do I see the markets currently, and what do I see as the investor interest, Anuj? The markets are and shall continue to be both range-bound and volatile. There are several factors, external and internal to India, which are causing this volatility, and I don't see either those factors getting addressed in the immediate term, or therefore the volatility getting addressed.
I take your point. It's both domestic and global factors that have hurt us in the recent past. But, global factors are not in our hands, Ashok. But do you get a sense that India has lost maybe a bit of an opportunity over the last 1 year?
I've just come back from a 2-day trip to Singapore, and I was able to meet almost 10 very high-quality investors who believe in India and have invested significant amounts of money in India. The general consensus is that a year from the time the Modi government came to power, we haven't seen the type of dramatic change and reform that we expected at one point of time. But they very quickly add to say that any expectation of a magic wand was truly an unfair expectation. And reality is that India is and shall continue to be a challenging economy. And there is no single reform or no single party or no single individual who can make transformational changes in the short period of time that the Modi government has been in power. There's also general consensus that both in the medium term and certainly in the long term, India is a very good bet that these investors will continue to hold long positions, that these investors will, at each opportunity where the market dips and corrects, deploy more money in India. And therefore I would like to believe that high quality long-term investors certainly believe that India has a very bright future, certainly better than all other emerging markets, and believe that any aberration or any dip at this point of time is a short-term aberration. Some believe it's medium-term aberration. But I did not hear anybody who said that in the long time we would not like to be significantly invested in India.
Okay. Mr. Vadra, do you think that we need to do something dynamic to get back FII inflows?
I think we need to think about why both equity and debt inflows have suddenly tapered off. And I would like to believe that it has less to do with Indian market or Indian economic order and a lot more to do with global factors. I mentioned Greece as one factor, and until now, the threat that Fed would come out with some serious changes on an immediate basis was the other factor that really, made sure that monies were flowing back towards the United States versus flowing into emerging markets. The second one certainly has been addressed temporarily, and hopefully the first one, the Greek issue, will also get addressed in the short term. And once these external factors are addressed, I think you will see greater flows coming back to the Indian market, both debt and equity markets. Can we do more in India to make India a more attractive destination? Absolutely yes. I think we need to do whatever we need to do to support and augment consumption at this point of time. Whereas we all keep talking about investment cycles and how investment cycle has slowed down or has not been reignited, we tend to ignore the fact that we also need to do some more to prop up consumption. And once the consumption cycle starts firing, and really, if you think through the period 2012 to 2014, it was the consumption engine that really fired well for India, despite the fact that we were going through what I would think one of the worst periods from an investment climate perspective. Having said that, government's plan to set up smart cities announced by the Prime Minister today, our focus on infrastructure and all the indications that we see, the Bombay Coastal Road being a very good example of that. I think government is ensuring that they announce important infrastructural projects, but only after they have done enough thinking and homework such that there is credibility in implementation of those projects. And I would rather that government, make these announcements one at a time rather than transformational announcements, but focus a lot more on the implementation plan, which is what the government seems to be doing now.
Okay, fair enough, Mr. Vadra. Just getting a sense on earnings then, do you think that earnings will become worse before they get better?
Well, I'm not sure it will worsen, but for sure, I do not see a serious increase or a very visible increase in earnings in the immediate future. Earnings have been muted, shall remain muted for a period of time. I think companies will have to see how they can get more efficient. Hopefully there will be a greater consolidation play. I think all the factors in India today, including relatively muted earnings, call for a much more significant M&A activity, a consolidation play which will create synergies, deliver efficiencies, and allow organizations, efficient, well-run organizations, well-capitalized organizations, to use that as a mechanism to prop up their earnings in the short to medium term. I don't think government policies can have a serious and immediate impact. Clearly, government policies will have a gestation period, and one hopes that proper implementation of those policies will result in growth in earnings through that period, and as I said, sometimes medium to long term. So companies will have to deal with alternate strategies on how they deliver superior earnings to what has happened thus far.
Ashok, since you look at taxation issues quite closely, do you think they have put issues like MAT on FIIs on back burner, or do you think it could come back to haunt us at some point over the next 2 or 3 months?
On a lighter note, Anuj, for years I have been trying to tell people that I am now an investment banker and that I left taxes 15 years ago. But for whatever good reason, my past reputation still continues to be that I'm a good tax man. So I'll attempt to answer that question for sure. I think the finance minister has been very specific, very direct, and all actions, whether by the revenue department or by courts, seem to be clearly in the direction that MAT, which became a significant issue thanks to one advance tax ruling, will get addressed, is being addressed in the best possible manner. Once a matter goes into litigation, given the finance minister's commitment that he's not going to make retroactive amendments, good or bad, I think it becomes very difficult to make legislative changes. So one hopes that the judicial process that has commenced in the matter through intervention of several other companies who've been issued notices will come to a logical end, and I think the government is interested and inclined towards bringing it to that logical end. So one would argue that that certainly is a matter that will get addressed soon. On other issues, I think even during his present trip to the United States, the finance minister has categorically stated that India will not pursue a retroactive amendment strategy going forward. Now, will he be able to transform that into legislation at some point of time? I'd like to believe that when a finance minister makes a public statement of that nature, we need to trust him for what he's saying versus insist upon that getting converted into writing. I'd like to believe that the government's actions going forward will more than satisfy all concerns and all investors that issues like MAT and retroactive amendments are hopefully deeply buried, and that we are now looking at a regime which will implement what it promises.
All right, you're always a good tech expert, but let's get the investment banking questions then in that case. Ashok, what kind of activities do you see for the rest of the year in terms of mergers and acquisitions, since you alluded to that earlier as well?
I would say there is enhanced interest in deal making at this point of time. For a long time, the strategic interest in terms of acquisition in India, cross-border acquisition, foreign companies acquiring Indian assets, had, I think, been relatively subdued. If one saw M&A activity, it was largely led by financial sponsors who were happy to take controlling interest in Indian companies. Over the last 6 months, one has seen enhanced activity. In particular, Japanese investors have shown serious and very keen interest in making strategic acquisitions in India. I see large pools of capital flowing from Japan to India, and I see significant partnership opportunities between Indian companies and Japanese companies. I would also think that US companies, which are very, very cash rich, particularly in the whole pharma and pharma-related sector, would be very keen to make acquisitions in India. We just need to ensure that there is ease of doing business and making acquisitions through a more transparent, approval process. I think there is still some bureaucracy that needs to get addressed between, investment approvals and related regulatory barriers. And as these regulatory barriers ease out, with the Prime Minister committing to ease of doing business in India, I think you will see many of these interested companies convert their interest into real acquisition opportunities.
Okay, fair enough. What about the IPO markets? We haven't had any one big single IPO as yet. Do you see that changing?
History has shown that, capital raising by listed companies starts the process in the primary market and the issuance pieces. Fresh IPOs, public offerings always follow suit. We saw a spate of activity in the whole QIP business between July of 2014 and February of 2015. And then we saw this volatility and serious correction. Clearly, people were a little confused, a little concerned about this volatility being long drawn and the correction in market being more than just an aberration. So obviously those who were looking at filing for IPOs, or those who had even got the approval for IPOs, kind of withdrew a little from that opportunity. We have seen some very successful IPOs. I believe that there is a queue of very good quality IPOs waiting to come to the market. As soon as we see some stability in the market, I think you will see a spurt in primary issuance of fresh public offerings. And I believe that could happen somewhere between October of 2015 and October of 2016. So I continue to hope that we will see many good quality companies coming to market soon.
Okay, so what about the market levels to watch then? Do you think 9100 is now a top, and more importantly, maybe 7900 is in fact a durable bottom?
My two-bit contribution to your question would be, I believe that Nifty is going to be, a bit of a range bound, and it's remained in that 7800 to 8300 type range. It hasn't broken either side now through this corrective phase. And I'd like to believe that at least in the near term, the Nifty will be range bound. But again, my qualification to that response is, I'm certainly not an expert, and therefore please do not take my response very seriously.
Okay, so final question before we let you go. In your opinion, is the India story intact? Or in other terms, are we currently only witnessing a bit of a speed breaker, and is the overall story still intact?
My two-bit contribution to your question would be, I believe that Nifty is going to be, a bit of a range bound, and I think most long-term investors recognize that investing in India comes with a set of conditions. And one of the conditions that it comes with is that there will be temporary aberrations, that there will be factors that are relatively unpredictable that will happen during any run. What we have seen over the last 3 months is no different. What we shall see in the future will be no different. And therefore, long-term investors budget these aberrations in their process of investment. The story that India is a great investment destination continues to be intact. And unless we see some significant challenge coming out of some of the current political developments, I don't think the investors are going to change their opinion about India is a good market to invest in the medium to long term.
Okay, Mr. Wadhwa, we'll leave it on that note. Thanks very much for joining in and talking to us. So